What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of the Viall Files. I'm your host, Nick, and this is going to be a ton of fun. I have my dear friend, Sharleen Joynt, to help us with the Ask Nick. How you doing, Sharleen?
Hey. Hi. Good. How are you?
I'm great. Charlene's one of my favorite people in the world. We've been friends ever since my time on Andy's season when Sharleen... it was her first season writing her blog, recapping the show on her website. Pandas?
I can't believe you don't even remember.
I do. I'm like having a brain fart. But
it's been a minute. Alltheprettypandas.com.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. But Sharleen and I just kind of like, we connected, we kind of understood each other. And, this thing we do on Ask Nick episodes, Sharleen and I have been doing stuff like this just as friends when we get together, like talking about relationships, our own relationships, dissecting what we think, our friends' relationships. And so Sharleen...
We really get off on this.
yeah. Sharleen is as good as anyone about, giving relationship advice and trying to be as honest and unbiased as possible. And she's, incredibly intelligent and wonderful. And so I appreciate you coming on, Sharleen.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
How are you been otherwise? How's, we always like to check in with the whole quarantine situation. Are you doing fine? Are you losing your mind? A little bit of both?
I'm kind of doing a little disturbingly fine, if that makes sense. I'm
totally.
Yeah. I feel like you probably know. You mentioned this in another one where you talked about how like there's no social FOMO because you know what everyone's doing. Yeah. And a lot of my life decisions, I think, are ruled by that sort of like FOMO or YOLO. And it's why I went on The Bachelor. So, there's a real like liberty or freedom to just being like, well, I have nowhere to go. What am I going to choose to do at this time? And I am very introverted. So it's almost dangerous. It's dangerous. I haven't seen someone face to face in a screen in a while. Like this is a big deal for me.
Yeah, no, I think you and I have you ever done the Enneagram test?
I have. I was a 5 and then 4 secondary.
Okay, I guess I'm a 3-wing 4. So we're both secondary 4s. Maybe that I only asked because I know a lot of
sorry to interrupt you. I'm a 4 and secondary 5.
Okay. I know a lot of people are always like, oh, we're just the same, but like we do have a lot of similarities and we have differences, but it's always been very easy for us to talk and to get along.
I think a crucial difference between us is I care more what people think about me than you do. And even though you do care, you execute that care in a different way than I do. Yeah,
I care, but it doesn't stop me from doing what I want.
Yeah, I'm like crippled by it.
Yeah, which I always find surprising about you sometimes. I never really understood where it was like.
I wish I really think it's my upbringing and something Canadian about it maybe. But I was talking to Alon about this, about who, people who seem cool when you first meet them, whatever cool may be.
Okay.
And he was like, I was like, do I seem cool when you meet me? He was like, no. It's like, but when you get to know you, you're really cool. And I just thought that was a hilarious response and probably very accurate because a lot of people write about such things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe like I wouldn't say cool, but I don't like you. I think you're intimidating. I mean, at first,
I feel like with you, you seem. Probably cool, but like a little too cool for school. And then when you get to know you, realize that you're really kind of a teddy bear, like quite sensitive, but you definitely don't give that off immediately.
I don't. That's more of my resting gaze. It's not, or like an aloofness or just like
aloof. That's a great word to describe you. Early on.
Well, I just, it's one of those things. Here's what I care what people think, but I never have had this. I don't care enough to make sure that I'm giving an amazing first impression to to just anyone. I have to like really be excited to meet you, and then I'm really great. But if like am out and about and just like, I just don't have the energy to always be on.
Okay, but I agree with you, obviously, because that's just accurate. But if and when you were to hear that the kind of person that you, like a person that you didn't give your all to wasn't a fan, you wouldn't love that feedback. Am I right or wrong? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I've always feel like that's like a double-edged sword for me. Because it's like, yes. I care too much. Like that's like you said, I do care what people think. But I don't do anything about it often, which then also creates this like constant anxiety, you know, where it's just like, well, if I'm going to care so much what people think, why don't I help myself out? It's like, I don't know, it's like paying parking tickets late for like, you have no reason to do it. And you're just going to get like more fees, which, oh, by the way, I do that. I'm just creating my own.
Okay, so next question about this, because I learned this actually doing the anagram thing. Do you feel like some of it has to do with actually less who you're meeting and whether you're excited about it or, you know, consciously putting your best foot forward, and do you think part of it is just the mood you're in?
It's not really a mood.
Okay, so you don't think you're moody in that way?
No, I don't think I'm a moody person. Do you?
No, I don't. You're pretty steady in that regard.
I think what it is,
you will, like, depending on who you're meeting or I don't know when it is, you might make a winning first impression or not. So it's just
I don't know how to say this with certainty that it's going to sound great, so I'll just say it.
Just say it.
I'm a heady person. I'm in my head a lot. And so I just have to be interested and intrigued.
Yeah.
And if I'm not interested and intrigued, I have a hard time reminding myself that I need to pretend to be, because usually I'm just more interested in what's in my own head. And that's not because it's exciting or that interesting. I'm just, I don't get out of my own way to enjoy the moment or be present. And if I'm not initially captivated by whatever it is, I don't do a good job of making that person feel interested.
For what it's worth, it's not, that fact about you is not my favorite thing about you, but the fact that you can admit it is one of my favorite things about you. Like,
thanks.
I remember the first time we ever talked about this, it was in relation to, I think, my singing. And like you asked, we've been friends for years. So I think you asked me my first question, like the first question you ever asked me about, what I do for a living. And it's never occurred to, I wasn't like ever like annoyed by it. It just didn't occur to me. I was like, you've never asked me about my singing before. Like, why? And he was like, well, because you said this thing and it led me to these questions I had. And it's like, and other times it's just, I didn't really have questions. You were far more intrigued by a conversation we might have about, interpersonal things, like, which I totally relate to. But my favorite thing was how you were like, I know I should socially show that curiosity, but you were like, I just don't care that much. And I was like, just because that's the kind of thing that so many people feel, but no one will admit because they're so concerned with how people feel about them.
Yeah, I mean,
I would be lying if I said I haven't asked people questions about themselves just because I wanted to seem interested, because I wanted them to like me. Which, is that any better? Like, it's not authentic.
No, it is better. You're very good because, like,
they're both terrible. Usually I'm interested, but you know what I mean.
Like, even if it's slightly insincere, you're very good about making people feel welcomed. And when I introduce you to people, or let's say, like, I bring a date out with you and Andy, you're so good at making them feel comfortable. And I think even if it's quote unquote insincere, that's a very generous thing to do.
For what it's worth, it's rarely insincere, but I'm the kind of person that will, if I give a lot, which usually I'll find something that I'm interested in to, like, spark conversation there. But if I find I'm giving and giving and giving and not receiving anything, I'll completely hold it against the person.
You will turn on people quickly. I do like that about you. Like
you like that
about? Sure, yes. Because that's your authentic side. Like you are far more generous that way. You're way more empathetic than I am, and you will give people a fucking leash that I can't comprehend. But once you do, you will you're done. And I will say that I'm never really done with anyone because I'm not good at showing empathy, but I actually do think that I'm good at being I do always try to understand the way why someone's doing why someone's doing what they're doing.
Yes, but I think there's a caveat there. I think you do try to think of that only when you respect them.
Do I only when I respect? No. I mean, listen, if I don't respect them, I don't have any time for them.
I don't think that you would give it too much airtime in your mind.
But there's people I don't know, I don't respect a lot about what they're doing, but I weirdly will, maybe it's for my own peace of mind to just be I like to understand why people do what they do. Doesn't mean I like it, doesn't mean I even respect it. It's just more, it makes me I can understand that situation. And again, I'm just more, and time heals all wounds. It's kind of I don't like holding grudges at all. I just feel that's very toxic energy for me, and that allows me to not hold grudges. It doesn't mean I trust that person anymore. It doesn't mean I really want them in my life. It just means that, let's say I run into them down the road. I'm not feeling anything negative towards them because I've understood the situation and I've decided to let it go.
I wish I was a little bit more like that, but I think the difference is that in order for me to reach that point, like you said, I have given enough leash where I feel wronged and betrayed or whatever, enough for me to be done with that person that I can't help but hold some kind of a...
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
It took more to get to that point is what I'm saying.
Yes.
This is either really interesting to people or super boring.
Really? Yeah. Why is this Masterclass. I got to tell you, this is such a phenomenal tool, Masterclass. If you haven't heard of it, it is an incredible platform where they have gotten truly masters of all types of industries and fields, the best of the best, to kind of share their expertise to teach those who are interested in learning more. I guess that's the simplest way of putting it. And it's something I got it for myself and for a Christmas gift this past year. I'd seen it all over the internet and I was really curious. And so I tried it and I've absolutely loved it. Like I said, I've done the photography class. I've done the negotiating class. I just started Bob Iger's, the CEO and president of Disney, or granted, he's transitioning out of it now, as well as Judd Apatow's comedy class. I just started both of them, kind of doing them simultaneously.
Yeah, I've just been watching so much TV in the quarantine, and I was like, I need to be spending this time doing something that's just going to make me feel at least a little bit accomplished. So yeah, I'm still finishing up the Judd Apatow one, but I'm surprised how detailed it gets. It is totally like taking a class from them.
Get unlimited access to every masterclass, and as a Viall File listener, you get 15% off the annual All Access Pass. Go to masterclass.com/VIALL. That's masterclass.com/VIALL for 15% off Masterclass. Figs! Wow, what a time to help those who are helping us, healthcare professionals. We've talked a lot about Figs on this show. They are incredible high-end scrubs. I wear them all the time. I am not a doctor, but I do love them. I wear them a lot recently in the comfort of my home. And
yeah, you have the jogger style, which is really trendy and comfortable.
I do, but also if you know a healthcare professional, a family friend, or even if you don't, you can give the gift of Figs, because it truly, these people in the healthcare professional are busting their asses and busting their butts, and they want to be comfortable, they want to look good, and Figs is a much higher end quality type of scrub than what they're maybe given. So always great to help those people in need. So make sure to have your healthcare professionals fronts and backs. Right now, you can send a set of fresh scrubs directly to those fighting coronavirus on the front lines. And our listeners can even get 15% off for a limited time. So just go to wearfigs.com. That is WEARFIGS.com and enter code VIALL15. That's VIALL15 at checkout. No, but I've always enjoyed that part of our friendship about, I think every time I talk to you and when I come to New York, it is like a therapy session for me. Because I trust you so much to talk, and I also respect your feedback. That like sometimes it's just a great way for me to reset. Sometimes, so I find that nice. I find that comforting. So like this is almost like a weird therapy session for me. Almost.
I mean, it's definitely we get each other in a way, and I think we got like the day we met. Were we in the lobby of your hotel? Didn't we go to Starbucks?
It was right after AFR on Andy's season.
Yeah, you were in town for like GMA or something.
Yeah.
And like we were like, I mean, we got each other right away. And then of course you get along with Andy like.
I love Andy. I think I like Andy more than
well.
Yeah, I like Andy. I like Andy more than you.
You think I don't know that? We've talked about that. I'm like, if we ever get divorced, like we talked about which friends would go with who, and I'm like, oh my God, Nick is so yours.
I think I'm Team Andy.
Which I'll try not to have my feelings hurt by that, but I think it's definitely true. I feel like every Bachelor male friend I have, like likes me, and we get along really well, and we're friends for a reason, but they like love Andy.
No, I mean, I love you both equally, but yes, I guess I'm more surprised by how much I loved, because like, I mean, we joked about this, but I was like openly hitting on you when you first met Andy, thinking that Andy was just like some fucking guy I had to wait for you to break up with before I could like slide in and make a move. And then like we just became friends and it was like a joke. And then I met Andy and I'm like, this guy's fucking awesome. And I just like, he just became such a dear friend of mine.
It worked out for the best. Yeah, I think in an alternate reality, you and I definitely would have dated if Andy didn't exist, but I don't know if it would have lasted.
It's possible.
Yeah, you never know. You know,
I mean, it's a safe bet knowing me.
Violin.
Just saying.
Zero sympathy over here.
What are you? What are you up to these days to let the people know before we jump into our questions?
What am I up to? It's like, I feel like you can probably relate to this. You both feel like there's nothing to do and so much to do at the same time. You definitely get this because a lot of what you do is like, if you're creating something, you're not clocking in or doing what you're assigned to do. So you kind of have to make your own opportunities, which I think I kind of struggle with. Like, I like it when I have a singing gig because I know what hours I'm required to be there. There's like legit structure to my day. And I feel like I need to set aside time to create structure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm a little too like airy-fairy, artsy-fartsy.
It's okay.
Creative type. No,
I struggle with, I mean, ever since I kind of did a shift in my career, I have to remind myself that I'm actually doing something and being productive, because it's not like, again, going to a job and grinding it out. But I'm like, what? I actually did work today, in a sense. It's just how you define what that is. But there's always like a stepping stone.
I guess it's a good sign, the fact that you need to check in with that, because it means you must be enjoying it at least somewhat.
Totally. Yeah. No, I feel very lucky that way. Where can people find you out there on some of the projects that you're working on? Like, Sharleen is doing Listen to Your Heart recap. She's always recapping The Bachelor and writing about it. And she always has how we met. Yeah. A great lens in how she dissects every episodes. And what I've always loved about you, and something I try to do on our show, is kind of go against the grain sometimes, not just for the sake of it, but it's very easy to just always agree with quote unquote the edit or the storyline that the show's going. And you're very good at kind of considering other alternatives of how to interpret every situation.
I mean, I give you credit in the beginning for kind of defining the tone of my recaps. Like they've developed quite a following, but it's, like you said, it's not just for the sake of it. It's about looking one layer deeper or several layers deeper, and in a way that maybe it's easier. Obviously, it's easier to do when you've been there and you know how impatient it can, you can get, all the waiting and all the very trying circumstances. But I really give you credit because, like, you were vastly despised on your first season. And to this day, I don't really get it. I never really got it, but it was the first time I was writing about this show, and I would end up doing it. And now it's been like 6 years, but I would like painstakingly define why what you were doing wasn't wrong or annoying. And
sure.
It was just interesting to kind of get a following based on that specificity. Like, I feel like you're either going to love or hate my recaps, but if you are into them, you're going to be really into them because you want to dissect that interpersonal thing, the thing we're always talking about.
I'm trying to be nice, but I don't think there's anyone who hates your recaps because like everyone likes alternative points of view. And like, it's always clear.
Oh, that is not true at all. I completely disagree.
Let me articulate a little bit more,
Okay.
Is that you don't have wasted words or thoughts in the sense that there's a lot of people out there who just like to be disagreeable just to like rile people up, right?
Yes,
just to start shit. And they can't articulate it and they can't defend it, right? But that's not you, right? You have a purpose for how you perceive a situation and what you do. And I think people appreciate that. Just like people always say like, you can't do a first impression. That's true. But the reality is in this world that like our first impressions of people are often inaccurate about who they really are. Because of what they might be willing to show us, right? We're not always ourselves in our first interactions, and I think you do a good job of kind of indirectly pointing that out. And that's relatable to The Bachelor, and it's relatable to the real world.
Thank you. When I read over my Bachelor journal, that was one of the top things I learned about myself through that experience was that I was not actually that good at judge of character, which was something I, was like, oh, I'm a great judge of character. That's something that I felt I should be good at, but I'm actually not. And I think you were one of the few friends who, would have the guts to tell me that.
No, I do remember telling you that because I was like, it's funny because one of those things you are very infusive, right? So like You're very good at expressing yourself. So I respect your opinion so much. And I would notice that you would be like, oh, this person like this or that is so impressive. I'd be like, oh, really? Okay, cool. And then I would meet him and I'd be like, oh, what the fuck, And then I was just so confused. And then I remember that one time and be like, you're not as good at your first read at like if someone does something that you really like, you latch on to that thing.
Yes.
And that will buy that person 3 or 4 hangouts, months.
It really colors the way I view them.
That's okay. That's not the worst trait.
But I still remember you telling me that, and I was like, yeah, it's not a comfortable feeling being told something about yourself that A, goes directly against everything you've believed about yourself, and B, just isn't, necessarily a good thing. It's not like it's against what you believed for the better. But I respected that you told me that, and you were right. And it definitely, having that awareness has made me go into meeting other new people differently, for sure. Oh, God, we're so exhausting.
We are. Well, Sharleen, I miss you too. What do you say we get to these questions? I think you're going to really enjoy it. But Sharleen was the perfect person for these calls. It was a lot of fun doing it with you, and I hope you guys also enjoy it. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K. Make sure to join us tomorrow for our recap of Listen to Your Heart, as well as our Wednesday's episode. If there's nothing else, let's get to it. Ship Station. Hard to say, very easy to use.
You're getting better at saying it though.
Yeah, I know. listen, we're stuck in our homes. We can't go out as much. We're still trying to get things done, and shipping is going a long way to doing that. And if you have any type of small business, whatever it's like, maybe just an extremely small business out of your home, or if it's more kind of a small business like, say, Natural Habits, where we have a fulfillment center and things like that, ShipStation is a priceless tool that we have been using to run Natural Habits. It's just a very user-friendly way to track all your shipments, get all analytics, help save on costs. So whether you're shipping USPS, FedEx, UPS, they handle it all, and it's just so easy to use. A very user-friendly app. You get great notifications. You always seem very in tune with all your shipping as it relates to your business and what you're doing. So I cannot recommend it enough. We've been using it for day one with Natural Habits. It's such a great tool. And right now, Viall File listeners can try ShipStation for free. I didn't say that great, but hey, ShipStation. For 60 days when you use offer code VIALL. Make sure your business is ready to meet the demands of the delivery culture. And now more than ever, get started at ShipStation.com today. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in VIALL. That's ShipStation.com. Enter offer code VIALL. ShipStation.com. Make ship happen. And I just want to point out that it truly is a free 60-day trial. You don't have to put a credit card in or anything like that. You just have to give it a try and see how much it can help your business as well.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's your name?
My name's Erin.
How old are you, Erin?
I'm 31.
Nice. How can we help?
Okay. So it's a little bit of a long question, but basically, back in December, my husband and I split up, and basically we've been together since we were 18, minus a couple years that we broke up after college. Okay. And everything was pretty amicable and it was going well. And in the last couple weeks, I kind of decided that I was kind of ready to move on, and I got on some like online dating apps and stuff like that. And then we signed the papers, or I signed the papers about a week ago. And then a couple days later, he admitted that he has a girlfriend, and it's actually like a mutual friend and his coworker and my client. So I do hair, and she was my client. And they actually moved. So he moved to 2 states away a couple, like 6 weeks ago. And he actually moved with her. So that was
he moved rough. With her, or she moved with him?
I'm sorry. She moved with him.
Okay. So
like he moved there, and a week later she moved with him, and he like asked her to move with him.
Did you introduce them?
No. It's his coworker. So he actually introduced me to her.
So he also stole it. He stole a client too.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And that's the least of my worries though. And so the other little fun fact is that she is 21 and super hot. And like, she was kind of thinking like about going to hair school, and I was like talking to her about being my assistant and all this stuff. So it's like kind of in this like mentorship role with her too. So, I guess in the healing process, I was kind of feeling okay. And then in the last week, I've sort of morphed into this like man-hating person who I'm just like, what's the point of being in a relationship or whatever if the person's just going to like go off with someone super young and whatever.
Sure.
And sorry, go on.
You asked for the divorce?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if the divorce is that pertinent to the story, but do you mind paraphrasing just like why you asked for the divorce, or like what ultimately was the reason why it ended?
Yeah. So basically, he and I wanted really different things, and I'm at a point in life where I do eventually want kids and all that stuff. And he's just kind of like in this permanent adolescence thing, and he drinks a lot and he goes out a lot and he's always gone, and he's like a bartender, and that's his coworker was also a bartender. And so he's just like continually sort of in the same place that we were when we were in our early 20s and just like hasn't really progressed. And
oh, wait, so he's not like a bartender on the side?
No, that's his full-time job.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick, for me, I just feel like this guy's making up for lost time. If you guys have been together since you were 18.
Yeah.
Oh, like he is sowing those wild oats hard right now.
Yeah, totally.
Well, that's the thing. It's just, I think what you're going through is normal. It's expected. I think the feelings you're feeling right now are understandable, but I do think it's very important for you to try to separate the what you're feeling versus kind of like the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And the reality is the situation is you asked for the divorce. Now that doesn't mean just because you asked for the divorce, you weren't heartbroken about the relationship ending. And
right.
It sounds like you would have wanted to stay married to him had he progressed, along with you, right? Like that's sometimes the challenges of an early marriage or an early relationship is that, you meet at 18, 19, 20 or whatever, and you're both still young adults, right? And now more than ever, people are maturing later in life. And so if you are in a relationship with someone early in life that, people are not done maturing or figuring out who they are as individuals at 21, 22, 23. And so if you are in a relationship, the hope is that as you guys mature as individuals, you also mature as a couple and those things line up. Mm-hmm. Often, unfortunately, they don't, which makes a lot of sense. You just don't know what you're going to do. And you've decided for yourself that at still a young age, 31, that like he just wasn't getting to this place. And I'm guessing you felt like he never was going to, certainly not in a time in which you wanted to.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I would say she gave the relationship a fair shot. That is a long time.
Yeah, we were married for 6 years.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that's the thing is like I think you need to really, remember that, right? I mean, and again, just I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you feel like, I guess maybe it's a good time to ask, do you feel, regardless of what's going on now, that you did everything you could to give that relationship a chance?
Like above and beyond. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's really important because, this might, I don't know if you're feeling regret or anxiety or fear about like, you made a comment.
Well, she's feeling betrayed, I'm sure. Like you're wondering how long this went on for, and this is someone you spent so much time with.
Yeah.
And is that a thought is that a thought you're wondering in terms of like, were there lies that maybe you didn't realize?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of lies along the way. And so I have a hard time, like, I pretty much believe like 70% of what he says in general, like even like little things.
Sure.
Like,
I like
the
specificity of that number.
So I feel like, I mean, he's claiming that they didn't have a thing before, but like, and in his job and everything, it would be so easy to do that. And I don't know. I think, betrayal. And I can't fathom having moved on so quickly. Like I'm sitting here and I'm like a week ago, I'm getting on apps and I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, 6 weeks ago has already moved in with someone like in a different state and all this stuff. And I just can't imagine. It makes me feel kind of disposable, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I understand that. It's natural what you're thinking. I'm just saying like, it might be easier said than done. I think it's just unproductive to spend a lot of energy, trying to figure out what was true and what was not for a relationship that no longer exists. Also, people move on at different stages, right? Like, this could just be, I'm curious, when you asked for the divorce, like what was his reaction? Did he fight for it? Did he disagree?
He was really upset, but he didn't ask for anything different after. He kind of just like was upset for a day and then like continued to like do the same things, which is like go out with his friends all the time and the same, like nothing changed.
It just sounds like he's dealing with this like such a dude.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. It's just like
it's like, oh, you want to divorce me? Then I'm fine. Like,
yeah, totally. Yeah. And I'm over here like just scared to get on Tinder.
He's not the first 31-year-old guy to like go out with a 21-year-old girl. Especially, he is a bartender, so his access to these women is significantly high.
There's one thing that in your original email you wrote that I don't feel like you said here, which is that he
it was a long email.
Has told you that you have a harder time meeting someone than him.
Yeah. So we were like friends and living, and we had a house together, so we had to sell it. So we were living together. We were friends, everything's good. And then like one night he came home and he was drunk, and it was like a month before we moved out. And he was like, I don't even want to get back together anymore. Actually, I feel sorry for you because I feel like as a 31-year-old, you're going to have a hard time meeting someone, and like I'm going to have an easier time meeting someone because it's just like easier for guys to meet someone who's younger and whatever, and it's not as easy for you anymore. And at the time I was kind of like, whatever, he's just drunk, it's fine. And then I like wrote it off, and then the next day I was like, you really shouldn't have said that to me, that was really mean. And he was like, yeah, but I don't envy you. And then like I was just like, whatever, it's just him being him. I don't like trying to, and then it's like still in my brain,
you still planted the seed, right? And so like
so mission accomplished.
It sounds like
he wanted to hurt you.
Yeah. It sounds like you know what he was trying to do. We still planted the seed, and you're still gonna have I'm sure, insecurities and fears and all those things. And when someone kind of plants a seed like that, even if you know what his intentions are, whenever you're feeling the most insecure and vulnerable, those things are going to creep up at you. That's very natural. You should, in a way, be glad that he said that. And what I mean by that is like his intention was to hurt you. All that really means is that he wants to make sure he moves on before you do. He's afraid for you to move on. Before he, he's afraid for you to move on before he does. That means he cares, which, you gotta which ultimately he's handling it immaturely maybe. And like he's going out with a 21-year-old and he has the right to do. You're divorced. But I'm simply saying that it does mean he cares. He's handling it in a very immature way. And obviously just speaks to like maybe why you decided to leave the relationship. But it does mean he cares, right? He wants to hurt you because he's hurt, and he's afraid for you to move on, which doesn't mean you should stop. You need to stop. You mentioned your email, like through the divorce, you were very agreeable in terms of like trying to accommodate him because of your guilt. And now it makes sense that once you found that out, you feel almost like, why was I so nice and
totally
accommodating? Don't regret that. I mean, these are all like, you have the rest of your life to look forward to, and all these things that you have to deal with in a divorce, well, messy, like you did the right thing, because the worst thing you could have done is let it drag on and like get messy.
Any longer than you already did.
Yeah, and fight over little things. And all these little things that you let him have, like whatever, fuck it. Like those are all just superficial things you can get back, you can replace. Like you're not going to care 3 or 4 years from now. You certainly won't care when you meet that person that you're looking for. So like everything you're feeling is just very natural and ordinary. I would challenge you to make the biggest thing you need to not do is what you said earlier, is let this cause you to resent men in general or question other people. Like you've dated one guy for your entire adult life. You don't exactly have an expansive experience with all the different types of guys. There's a lot of shitty dudes out there. There's a lot of great guys out there, right? I'm not trying to shit on bartenders, but like, that's like, if you're going to date a bartender, you're going to date an athlete, you're going to date a certain, like you open the risk, especially when they have access to a certain type of lifestyle, like, sure. And like you wanted to leave that, right? But doesn't mean every bartender is going to do that. But it sounds like you are looking for something a little bit more established. You're looking for someone who might be a little bit more career driven, who's more interested in growing up, a little like less of a Peter Pan type of thing. And it's fine. Like it doesn't matter like where people are. It's kind of like what their goals or where they want to go. Right. My guess is like, it wasn't so much him being a bartender. It was like every time you checked in on him, he was like, "No, I'm good being a bartender,"
Totally.
So I think you really, it's tough, but in these moments you really need to try to knowing deep down you made the right call. And these little things that he said or did, or it's going to hurt, but that's why. And like the hot 21-year-old, I mean, it is what it is, right? Like I get the betrayal. It's very predictable. Sure, he might get married and grow up and have kids with her, and that will feel like. But if I'm a betting man, my guess is probably not. My guess is, in about 3 to 6 months, it will be like. Hopefully, you won't be aware of it, but have comfort in the fact that chances are he will be fighting with her about things he won't even expect to fight about. It will be just total insanity to him. He's going to get sick of it real fast.
Totally.
But right now, he's just making up for what he's telling himself is lost time, and you are going to as well. Yeah, everyone does it differently.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I just really feel like the way he's handled it, like I understand that him wanting to hurt you is a sign of him caring, but I also think it's so not the way you would want your life partner to treat you when he's been hurt by you. So it's like, it really represents a massive reaction to being hurt that you just don't want to live with. So it's like, you can add it to the cons list, basically. And second of all, as a female who's older than you and who met her husband at around 30, let me just tell you that it's just all uphill from here. But honestly, the pool of men is way better.
Okay.
They're more informed, they're more mature, they're more prepared. They've learned their lessons from dating 21-year-olds to know what it is to compromise.
Yeah. And I think another part of like my question is like, I'm entering such a different era right now. When I was single last, so we broke up for like 3 years after college, whatever. So there was like a short time that in the span of 18 to 31 that we were not together. But it's like there was no online dating and stuff.
No, it's a totally different time.
Craziness.
Enjoy it. Don't feel rushed. Don't feel pressure. This is your time to whatever, the equivalent of you him dating a 21-year-old. This is like, I also like as far as the specific situation that you're in, and I don't know what Sharleen thinks, definitely don't, I get why you ended the relationship, right? I get that he wasn't ready to mature. He wasn't able to mature quickly and you want something more serious. That being said, allow yourself to have a little fun for at least a period of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have the right. And maybe you go out with your friends and you run into this 25-year-old like boy and he's hot and you're feeling it. Go for it. I'm not saying settle down with him. Like, have some self-awareness about like, don't get yourself back. I
don't need to do it again.
But like, I'm just simply saying you're allowed to enjoy it too. You've been in a relationship for a long time and you've made some sacrifices. So just make sure until you find that person, allow yourself to have the freedom and fun too. You don't, I think sometimes people in your situation will put this like burden on themselves. It's like you left this marriage for these very simple reasons and you don't want to feel like a hypocrite by allowing yourself to like go out and have fun and goof around. Like you are allowed to do that, right? It's just like whenever that person comes in your life, like just make sure he has the qualities that you're looking for. There's definitely a balance there. You don't have to be so earnest and so steadfast that you're like, well, I'm not allowed to have fun because I had two, that's not what I want.
I agree with you on that one. I don't know many people who really regret their moments of fun. If you know what I mean.
Totally.
You don't look back on that later and think, oh, I wish I'd like not had sex with that guy. You're like, oh, that was actually a fun time, or it was awkward. It made a good story. Like, it was a learning experience.
Totally.
Yeah. But I just think a lot of people in your shoes will sometimes be too hard on themselves about like, well, I have to do this. And you seem like a person who, like you have this accountability that you wish your ex-husband had. And like, just don't take it too far on yourself, I guess is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel guilty about being on dating apps. Don't feel like the relationship's over, right? It doesn't matter how fast he's moving on. It doesn't matter how fast you're moving on. Now it's really about you. It is your time to be selfish right now.
Yeah.
Especially while you're single. You're probably not used to that. So I would probably embrace that and enjoy that while it lasts. And then like Sharleen said, there's like a buffet of guys who, hopefully have matured and are ready to settle down. And my guess is like, you're also probably going to fall trap to like the first, like people in your shoes, usually what happens, like the first guy that's pretty nice, who's like the opposite of your ex, you're going to fall in love with, so be mindful of that, because he just might be different. So, just don't let him get in your head about your age. You don't need to be in a rush to settle down. There's just some pitfalls to be aware of while you are kind of moving on.
That's a good point. Even like a couple weeks ago, I felt guilty because I started slowly taking like pictures of us off of like Instagram. And I was like, "Ooh, I hope he doesn't notice." Like, it doesn't
matter. Yeah, that's like whatever you do, you do it for yourself. So it doesn't matter if they stay up. It doesn't matter if you delete them.
Yeah.
The important thing is whatever you do, you need to not be thinking about what he's going to think about it. You're doing it because I need to remove these because like it's just not good for me to look at. Or I don't care if we're divorced, but you know what? It was still a part of my life. Whatever it is, it should be about your own mental health and in no way thinking about how it's going to affect him. Not to be cold, but like it doesn't matter. He's doing his thing. You need to do yours. And
he's made that very clear that he's doing his thing.
And like you've done all this through the divorce. Like you're better off having dealt with it quickly. So that now you can really truly be selfish as it relates to your relationship with him.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think, I've spent a lot of time like not being selfish, and it might be the time to do that.
Yes. There are certain people.
And I think congratulations are in order. I think, wasn't it Louis C.K. who said this? Someone. Like how when there's a divorce, your relationship's over for a reason. Like you broke up for a reason. Like this is Nick's right. It's like totally your time to shine. And it's actually just very exciting.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Definitely embrace that. And, it's okay that you got hurt and he said those things, but just be mindful of going down a rabbit hole and just being like, you know what? It does hurt me that he said that, but I know why he said that. And it's an insecurity, but I'm not going to let it get to me. I think that's always the best way. Not pretending it doesn't bother you, saying it does, but then like addressing why and then moving forward.
Right.
So.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well,
I feel a lot better. Thank you.
Good. Well, you're going to be fine. This, like I said,
thank you.
Like Sharleen said, you have a lot to look forward to. You probably should just block them or mute them.
Yeah.
You don't have moments of weaknesses of like checking in on him. It's inevitable, it's going to bother you.
It never pays off.
Never pays off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. And just remember, every time he hurts you from here on out, it's information that you want to know sooner than later.
Yeah.
Like it's good to know.
Yeah. Cool.
It only solidifies your decision.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care. Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Good luck.
Bye.
Oh, she was a sweetheart.
Yeah. Sharleen, when you were, before you met Andy, how old were you when you met Andy?
29.
Okay. And you were coming off, obviously, Juan Pablo season. Did you, you're a pretty self-aware person, but as you approached 39 and you were single, coming off the Bachelor, did you ever have anxiety about your age and getting older as a woman? Did it ever get in your head?
To be honest, maybe a little, but honestly, that's something I've had my whole life more than most women. Like I've always liked dating older guys. When I was 20, my boyfriend was 28. And
not so much you dating older guys. I'm just saying, like, did you ever get self-conscious? I wouldn't be shocked if the answer is no, but like as you got older, like when I turned 25, I got weird about my age.
I think any woman who said that she doesn't think about it at all as she nears or reaches 30 is lying. Like it's just somewhat in the back of your mind, just if you think about timeline, even if you don't want kids, you just sort of think about, the options you have. And also it sort of forces you to come to terms with like whether or not you have been unreasonable in your wants. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're the common denominator and why your relationships haven't worked out. But for what it's worth, I actually don't think anyone should get married much before 30 anyway, because I think that you really learn so much about yourself.
Totally.
In those years.
All right. How's it going?
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good. How are you? What's your name?
Good. I'm Brooke, and I'm 20 years old,
Hi,
and I'm
Brooke,
from
20.
Pennsylvania.
How can we help?
So I was listening to an old Ask Nick episode a few days ago because I ran out of up-to-date podcasts. And there was one of the questions a girl was talking about with her insecurities when it comes to relationships. So then that got me thinking what my insecurities about relationships are. And I'm 20, haven't had a relationship, so I don't really have any relationship insecurities. So then I started thinking about, in general, like what my insecurities when it comes to guys are. And the first thing that came to my mind was queefing during sex.
Okay.
And
the struggle is real. It exists.
Yeah, right? And it's a bummer because a lot of my friends won't own up to it, that it's happened to them mid-interaction. And so I'm kind of just like over here, like, well, no one else is admitting to it. Like, am I the only one? Is it weird?
I don't understand why that's a stigma.
Right? I'm like you can't really help it.
It's air being pumped into your vagina by a penis.
Thank you.
And then
That's
the
what
air
I'm
needs
saying.
to escape your vagina.
That's what I'm saying.
It's more his technique than anything.
Right?
Wait,
Preach.
is it based off of the guy?
I don't know. Is it? You tell me.
Your
I'm only 20.
insecurity. Is your insecurity based on the guy?
I'm saying like when Sharleen said it's more the guy's technique. Sharleen.
Oh, what about it? You're asking me?
Well, you said it's more about the guy's technique.
It is. I mean,
as far as that creating queefing or not?
Absolutely, it's a factor.
How so?
Because depending on how far you come out and then go back in, if you go, it's sort of like a mascara wand. If you pull it out all the way, you're going to put air in, and you take it out all the way.
Yes, he's not air. His technique is not airtight. Pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it's not the insecurity about the guy. I've never felt like uncomfortable because of like what he said to me or like anything. Like he never made me feel weird, but it's just whenever that does happen, it's like I completely just like am turned off. Like I'm not into it anymore. I'm embarrassed, even though like he's not making me feel that way. It's like my own thing. So like I just kind of wanted to pick your brain and figure out like from a guy's perspective, like is it something that like when it happens, you're just like, oh, like whatever, like who cares? Or is it something like that is a turn off for them too? I mean, I haven't really experienced that, but like, I don't know. I just kind of wanted some older perspective. Like, and like, even if it doesn't bother you now, like think back to when you were like a college kid, like when you were in your 20s, like, was it something like the guys talk about that? Like, I just need to know.
I think it's not really a big deal at all. I don't remember the first time I experienced that, but yeah, I was probably young, and I think it's just kind of common sense of what it is. Usually it happens if you're like having sex for a longer period of time, right? And you're just, and it's like a buildup. It's not as if like you start having sex for 2 seconds later and all of a sudden that a queef happens, right? So I don't ever remember it being... Anytime I have had that happen, especially a while ago, I remember the girl feeling maybe a little bit of embarrassed, and she, again, to your point, was curious about my reaction, and I just kind of brushed it off. It's like, yeah, whatever, no big deal. I've remember times where she just like wanted to make sure that I knew what that was, It's like, just so you know, kind of thing. But yeah, I can't speak for guys. I don't remember talking about it with guy friends. And And there's always going to be the occasional asshole guy who might not have a lot of experience or might be weird and immature, but
yeah, but like that's
yes.
the same guy that's going to make a comment about cellulite. Like that's that guy.
Yeah, sure. But also like just might be like a young guy who doesn't know any better. You know, sometimes I'm not defending it, but like sometimes you get nervous and awkward and you say nervous and awkward things that come across as rude and mean, and all you are is nervous, right? But yeah, I wouldn't stress about it at all. I wouldn't make it a big deal. Charlotte?
I have strong opinions about this.
Yeah, great, lay it on me.
Yeah, no, I just think that this, you are clearly very mature for your age, but to me, that shows your youth. The fact that you are, you know what I mean? Like when I think back to when I was 20, like, you know, I'd be self-conscious about positions I was in, what my body looked like in that lighting or in that position. And queefing is just one of those things. Like it happens to everyone, maybe some people more than others, but like I said, it really comes down to position and technique. And like Nick said, how long you've been doing it for. As long as you don't think it's like a medical issue, which I don't think it is. It's if you told me this guy was like making some comment, I'd be like, dump him now. But yeah, as long as, I think that this is, you're just, you know, with more experience, you'll realize that it happens to everyone. And it's, if anything, I think it's hilarious. When it happens with me and Andy, it's like funny.
Also,
like especially if it's a really good one.
In a weird way, a sense of accomplishment of like, wow, we've been really having some sex, you know, like,
great way.
Just to be clear, like you haven't had a guy say something that made you feel embarrassed or no?
Oh, no. Like if anything, we both just laughed and then just kind of like carried on. But then in the back of my head, I'm still like it takes me a few minutes to kind of get back in the like, oh yeah, let's do this. Yeah,
I mean, and to Charlene's point, that's kind of speaks to, you know, your youth. You're getting used to it. You'll become eventually numb to it, but like, it's just something that happens.
Yeah. That no one talks about apparently.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sex is, you know, messy and yeah. I mean, it's like anything else. Like why your friends might not want to talk about it. I don't know. Eventually they will more, but I will say, like, I will say is that from a guy's point of view, and maybe other guys are different, I don't ever remember it being a topic of conversation with my guy friends being like, hey, did this ever happen to you? Like, I don't have a distinct memory, but I just remember me thinking this makes sense. You know, like you have a lot of sex for a period of time, just like literally the physics of it all would suggest that you might like, there might be too much air going in a hole that needs to get, you know, it's just, it's common sense. And so, I don't ever remember being confused.
That's good. Yeah.
To the point where I'd be like, yeah.
Unfortunately, the guy that I'm with, he's in a fraternity. So, you know, they kind of lack that. So like, I'm hoping that they just kind of, he just assumes it's common sense, but.
Do you know that he brought it up to his buddies?
No, I don't, but I wouldn't, I don't know that I would be surprised had he not. And honestly, I don't really know if I care that much, but I seem to care in the moment that when it happens, I care more.
I would only care as it relates to, you know, him having a level of respect for you and
privacy.
And for your privacy. And if he were to make it a thing that you like, it's not an embarrassing thing, but I could imagine that if you went to some party and a bunch of his buddies like talked about you queefing, that would be embarrassing.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
But again, don't get in your head by assuming he's doing this. Like, you know, unless you find out, like, just assume he's not.
Yeah, I have no reason to actually believe it. I just
also remember that it is technique first and foremost. So let's say this guy has had sex with 3 girls and he's having sex the way he is. He's the common denominator in that. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's more likely that all 3 of those women are queefing. More so than if you were having sex with 3 guys and you're queefing the whole time.
I don't suspect it's going to come up. But if it did and he somehow got publicly embarrassed, you could just be like, well, learn how to fuck, buddy. You know? Like.
Okay, I definitely will.
but I think we're probably getting ahead of ourselves a little bit.
I agree. I agree. I'll give him a little credit. I'll give him credit where credit's due. It's not.
I'm giving you credit for calling with this concern because like that takes major balls and it's very impressive. And honestly, there are going to be girls that listen to this and like feel better about it. So
these little things about sex, I mean, it's good to get out there and people, you know, we surprisingly have a culture that shames sex and shames talking about it. And as a result, there's still a lot of ignorance and disinformation about some of this stuff. So yeah, I think it's good to get it out there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for chatting me through this. I appreciate it.
All right. No problem, Brooke. You best of luck in your future sex life. And
thank you.
May you have more fun stories. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
How's it going?
Good. My name's Gabby. I'm 24.
Hi, Gabby, 24. How can we help?
So I have this friend that I met when I was living in England about 3 years ago. And I met him and his girlfriend, and we became good friends. And then I was dating someone at the time, and he was dating his girlfriend at the time. And then we became good friends. And then I moved back to the States. And then we kept in touch via Facebook, but we just didn't talk that much because of the time difference. And then recently with the quarantine, he reached out to me and he was like, oh, like, what have you been up to? And I was telling him how I've been really into working out. So he's like, oh, let me join you. So I would FaceTime him, but then he would not work out. He would just watch me for a while. And then I found out through him and his ex-girlfriend, who he still lives with, that he has a sex addiction and he like doesn't know when girls are flirting with him or not. So I don't know if he's just being supportive or like if I have a right to be creeped out. Like I just don't really know how I should be feeling.
Great question. So just out of curiosity, when he FaceTimes you with this perceived intention of like working out with you, which that's a neat idea. Like quarantine, everyone likes a workout buddy, so there's no reason why you can't do that virtually. And then he doesn't. Are you afraid? Are you like, you don't say anything because you're just afraid to like make him like feel embarrassed?
Yeah, like I'm busy working out too, so it's not like I can really talk between what I'm doing. But I also don't, if he is just wanting to be a good friend and be there for me, I don't want to be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you eating your chicken? Like, I just want to.
But he starts this out by saying, let's work out together.
Yes.
Like that. Okay.
That's how it starts. And then
and you make it sound like it's happened more than once. Because to me, this is like a one-time thing.
Yeah, it's happened like 4 or 5 times.
It's creepy. It's creepy.
So it is creepy. I'm only going to point out that like, you just need to stop allowing this to happen. You are in control here. And this is definitely one of these situations where, and this happens to everyone. Like, and I think it happens more with women, but they seem to go along with things they're uncomfortable with because they don't want to embarrass the guy.
And they don't want to seem, I also think that they don't want to seem arrogant in assuming that he sees her that way.
Exactly. Like, I don't want to assume that he sees me in that way just because I'm a girl, because then I'd feel bad if he didn't. I'd feel like,
you don't, you feel self-conscious making it like, oh,
sure. But also,
with me.
Yeah.
Take that part out of it. I can assure you right now, Sharleen is a good friend of mine. She's married. I have no confusion about the status of our relationship. And if Sharleen suggested that we should work out, and I was like, okay, that's different, but cool, let's work out. I wouldn't think that she was in any way doing anything other than trying to work out. If she decided to eat a bag of potato chips while she watched me work out, I still wouldn't think that she was like trying to do anything with me. I would still be like, well, why the fuck aren't you working out? Like, I'm just going to go now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't want
why aren't you doing the thing you said you were going to do?
Yeah, I wouldn't want any of my platonic friends to watch me work out. So like, this doesn't, you having a problem with it doesn't sexualize the situation and doesn't suggest that you are making any implications about his interest in you. It's just weird, you know?
Yeah, it makes you uncomfortable enough to have called about it. So
Yeah.
that alone unto itself, even if he's not meaning this in a creepy way, which I still think he is, that unto itself is reason enough to start.
Yeah, he probably is. But I'm simply saying, like, you can have the comfort of like saying, well, nah, I don't like want to. And like, and if he gets defensive of like, well, why is it a big deal? I'd be like, I don't know. I don't like my mom or anyone watching me work out, but like, I'm fine with, like, I wouldn't go to a Soul Cycle class and be the only one working out. Like 29 other people are dressed and like watching me, right? I'm fine with going to like a workout class around other people because everyone's working out and everyone's in it together. Like,
I don't even like when people talk to me at the gym.
Sure, right?
Anyway.
But so that's what I mean, that like this idea that like you're being very normal by not liking an audience when you work out. You know?
Because I kind of stopped responding to him when he like has been talking to me, and then he'll like, I guess like he'll just make comments like, oh, like why aren't you responding? Like did I offend you? Like, and like I just don't respond because I don't want to be like, oh no, it's okay, but I also don't want to be to like know how to approach it. I guess I don't know how to like start the conversation and be like,
yeah, I mean, honestly, like I get the whole like don't ghost or whatever, but I don't think there's anything wrong with you just avoiding the situation. I mean,
yeah, like how close are you? How close are you with this guy? Like, are you
like we were only friends for about 6 months before I left the country he was in. So we've been like Facebook friends for 3 years, but we only knew each other for 6 months.
I honestly think the only reason you should or would bring it up is if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not good at addressing awkward situations, and this is literally practice. You know, like you have nothing to lose by like bringing it up. And like, it is tough to bring up awkward situations, especially if like you don't want to be a dick or a bitch or whatever, but like you want to like be heard. That's a tough thing to do for anyone, right? And it does take practice, and it's, you know, so if that's what you want to do, then do it. Don't feel like you need to. Like, he knows it's weird, and now he's feeling uncomfortable that you're not responding. And like, I am curious about the sex edition thing. The sex edition.
Sorry,
are you?
I just hold that thought, Nick. I just want to interject that I think you should bring it up because you know for a fact that he has a hard time reading cues, and this guy needs every bit of education he can get. So he needs to know that this is not okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just ghost him, he's not really learning that lesson.
I think that's a nice thing to do. I just don't think it's her responsibility to do it.
No, but it would also just be so like she would feel better afterwards too.
Yeah.
It would feel better than ghosting.
No, I know. I mean, I just don't, I agree with Sharleen that you would probably feel better. It'd be a nice thing to do for him, regardless of how he initially handles it in the moment. I just don't think you owe it to him.
Agreed.
Is all I'm saying.
It would be a gift.
It would be a gift. Yeah. So if you feel like being generous, that's what you can do. But yeah, Sharleen was saying like he has a hard time reading. Is learning that information about him, is that making you more self-conscious about whether you should say it or not? Because you feel like, oh, well, he's got this thing and I don't want him to feel judged about it.
Yeah. And I also don't know much about it. Like, I don't know what it's like to desire that to the point. And I know that's what ruined his relationship with his ex, was he cheated on her multiple times. Mm. So I don't really know what that's like. So like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm judging him for this very real mental health issue.
True. And I get that. And that's very empathetic of you and very nice. But it's also important to note that, well, it's a mental health issue. And, you know, for example, alcoholism is a disease, and that sucks. But it doesn't mean that if you are in a relationship with an alcoholic, you have to put up with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be your problem, and you still have the right to express things that make you uncomfortable while dealing with that disease. You know, it doesn't give him a pass to do things. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I still want to be his friend. I just don't want him to like continue to do this with, you know, other girls and me, and I don't want him to continue to take advantage of that friendship. Like,
well, if you want to be his friend, then you definitely need to say something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Remember that he put you in this position, whether or not he like fully understood what he was doing. He must have some kind of an idea, or else he would just say, I want to watch you work out. Like the fact that he's even misleading you to get to that point shows that he knows there's something a little off about it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're here like in this predicament, like it's his, you don't need to use kid gloves with him. Like this, like Nick said, this is not your problem. Like it sucks for you that you are racking your brain on how to deal with it. And so just remember that.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Did you learn from him about this addiction?
I learned from him and from his ex-girlfriend.
Okay. So you learned from, but him, that means he's open to talking about it. Have you talked about it? How much have you talked about that? Did he just like mention it and that was it? Or have you had discussions about it?
Well, I kind of asked him, like, how he came to that conclusion, and then how he got help, and like, kind of like what that entails, because I was curious. And I know all he's really told me is, that he just can't read cues, and he thinks everyone's flirting with him, and it's super hard, especially in quarantine, because he's by himself with his roommates, which is his ex-girlfriend. So he's just very much like isolated. So he's like, it's just even harder, like when you have no human connection.
So, I mean, if you want to be his friend, try to have more conversations with him about that. And again, like you got to set boundaries. So next time you talk to him, if you do, like, don't be working out, right? So you can control that. Even if he's like, hey, when are you working out again? Be like, I already did, but if you want to talk and not work out, I'm fine. And then if you like are FaceTiming and talking, just be like, I'm curious. Like, I would like to learn more about this. Tell me about it. And then maybe in that conversation and in a way that's not threatening or judgmental, you say like, well, I guess I'm just curious because like, hey, listen, no judgment. It's fine. But it didn't make sense to me why you asked to work out, didn't, and you wanted to watch. I'm curious. Did you think I was flirting with you? And you say it in a way that's friendly. And again, like he's got to be able to talk about it, right? He also brought it up to you. He wanted you to know for some reason. He doesn't get to pick and choose. Like, well, hey, I'm going to tell you about my problem, but like when I don't want to talk about it, I don't have to talk about it, and then you kind of are left hanging. Again, this is all based off the assumption that he's going to be your friend.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course. Yeah.
And like, sorry, go.
My main thing is I don't want to make him uncomfortable by bringing it up. I don't want him to think, oh my God, she's like weirded out by me. I don't know. I guess I'm more worried about his feelings than anything else, if that makes sense.
Charlene?
You're very kind. I'm just curious how, like, out of the last 4 or 5 times that he's watched you work out, like, have there been other conversations interspersed there, like where you just chatted and there was no working out and you planned to talk and you talked? Or is this pretty much what your interaction has been for the last while?
Like when you're done working out, is he like, all right, well, see you later?
Well,
it's a worthwhile question.
Well, like when I finish my workouts and like we'll talk a little bit and I'll be like, oh, like what's the rest of the plans for the evening? And then like he'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna like go to bed or I'm gonna watch something, like, and then it's a very like only like a 2 to 3 minute conversation afterwards. It's not like we continue talking for a half hour afterwards. It's just very short.
I mean,
and
it sounds like a
other,
potential
like,
fetish. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no other like just set conversations where the workout is not on the table.
No. It's pretty much
this. I mean, this is not a friend. I'm sorry. I'm saying
okay.
it. He's creepy. He's creepy. He knows he's creepy to some degree. Whether or not he understands the full extent, I don't know. But
yeah.
I guess I'm just confused when this would have started, I guess, because we started out as friends and we've always been friends. So it's interesting that this is just happening.
I'm just guessing here, but you probably were never friends. What you were is he was in a relationship and, I know he's cheated and all these things, but because he was in a relationship, you just decided, well, clearly he's my friend. He has a girlfriend. This can't be romantic, right? You never knew how he felt about you. And the fact that he's not he just doesn't fucking know, like you could just be one of many girls he's talking to.
Yeah, that's true.
Or watching work out.
And you kind of have an innocent approach to the situation. And not that he's like you said, it's weird. It definitely seems to be a fetish of some kind, but yeah, you're not, this is not like your homeboy or life partner, or you're like your buddy from college. Like this is a guy that you were friendly with based off the assumption because he had a girlfriend, and now he doesn't. And now he might not be like trying to marry you, but like he is definitely sexualizing this relationship in his mind.
I would be very interested to see if you did take Nick's advice and in the future be like, oh, I've already worked out, but like I'm free to chat. Yeah. I'd be very interested to see if he actually chats.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be interested too. I mean, I definitely am curious. Like I said, like, it was just really stupid. Like, I still am very nervous about his feelings because I don't want to hurt him and I don't want him to feel like
you're being too nice at this point.
Yes.
He's definitely, whether it was manipulation by him or truly just an innocence, he has a little bit too much power in this friendship of yours that you call it.
What are you getting out of this?
Yeah.
Seriously. Other than feeling like uncomfortable.
Great question.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I just feel like, when we were friendly with each other, we had good times and we had fun hanging out, and I just kind of feel like it's kind of nice to have that kind of connection back to a place that was so important to me. Yeah. Because it's more about the place than about the person.
That makes sense. But yeah, there's other people out there.
You said you're 24?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I just don't really feel like in 10 years you're going to still be friends with this person.
No. Not even like a year. And part of it too, like part of 6 months, whenever you're able to go outside, part of it too is like, listen, you're just comfortable with him right now. Like, yeah. It's a weird thing sometimes. Someone can be weird and obnoxious and weird and just a pain in the ass and difficult and all these things. But what you are is comfortable with them in the sense that you know them and you're more comfortable with them than a total stranger.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing he has over every other total stranger is that you know him. Yeah. You've had a couple good memories. You can have pretty solid memories with anyone. You just might need a little bit more experience of just connecting with other people
and knowing when you're not getting anything out of a relationship and it's okay for it to end.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Yeah, and I think I've always had issues with letting go of friendships and things that were toxic because I've had plenty of toxic friendships in my life. So I think that's always been my weakness is knowing when it's toxic, when it's not.
I mean, I don't know you very well, but I know that you're way too nice.
Yeah. But and don't judge yourself. You judge yourself a lot. I hang on to relationships in every way too. It's something I think you do when we're younger. You get better at it. But listen, you're not going to have any regrets this way. You might waste a little time, but you're always going to feel confident when you do finally get the courage to let it go, to know that that wasn't for me. And you'll never go back and wonder and whether it's romantic or just a friend, it's not the worst trait to have, but you do need to get better at like our Sharleen said, a great way to do that is ask yourself, what am I getting out of this? And if it's just familiarity, that's not enough.
Yeah. That makes sense to let it go. That makes sense. Thanks.
So
good luck.
Yeah, I am curious if you.
I know. I want to know what happens with this.
You might be better. The right thing to do might just be to not talk to him anymore. But that's not going to happen. You're clearly going to. So definitely do not work out in front of him, and just make it clear that you have already worked out. And I'm really curious if he even bothers.
I think that there's a specific plan of attack here. First, when he wants to work out next, you say, I can't work out, but I've already worked out, but I can chat. If he drops the ball and clearly isn't interested in talking to you and not watching you work out, then that's all. You don't need to tell him anything. You do not owe him the gift of the information.
Yeah.
But then if he does want to talk to you, then I definitely think you should do what Nick said, which is bring up the sex addiction thing and sort of ease that in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because he clearly values your friendship enough to just talk to you with no...
And final thought before we let you go, if you happen to hurt his feelings while doing this, you don't have to feel guilty. sometimes people's feelings get hurt, and you can say, you know what I'm saying? You did nothing wrong. You're not doing this maliciously. He's put himself in this situation. He's opened up to you. People like love to use like, well, you hurt my feelings as like a weapon to always like get their power back in a situation. So like, don't fall victim to that, because my guess is because you're so sweet and nice, people sense that about you, and sometimes they easily take advantage of you by just simply accusing you of hurting their feelings.
Yeah, don't let him play victim here.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I needed to hear it. It's hard. I needed to hear it though. So thanks.
All right. Well, take care. This has been a great story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, good one.
Of course. Thanks. Nice to meet you guys.
Good luck.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. That's a first.
That guy, creep. All the red flags.
Watching someone work out, I don't know
if I get that. Especially since if that's what you're into, there's like a million Instagram accounts you could just click on for that.
Yeah, but maybe there's something there about like an intimacy aspect of it. I
hate that like she clearly feels uncomfortable and she's so sweet. It's just like, oh, this guy. Oh, I'm not a fan.
No,
I want to follow up. Like she needs to follow up on that. I want to know what happens. I'm invested.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
Susan, 26.
All right, Susan, 26. How can we help?
Sure. I had sent an email to Rochelle, and my dilemma kind of is I've been dating this guy for several months. We've gotten along really well. He's a more quiet person than I am. So that's been something to get used to with family members, just making comments that he's very quiet and quite shy. We've expressed our care for each other, said I love you to each other. He's brought up that he wants to take the next step. But over the last few months, he's struggled to share affection, communicating it. So I'm just struggling to figure out, okay, is this him not actually caring about me, or how to take it with his personality set?
Is he the same with you as he is with like your family?
Not at all. No. Yeah. He's
okay. How is he with you?
Yeah, he's really outgoing with me. We work in the same type of industry, so we get along really well, can talk about pretty much anything to do with that. Whereas with my family, he struggles to even have a normal conversation, just relaxed conversation. And I don't know if it's his nerves or what it really is.
And so I just want to make sure I'm clear by understanding, because like he's still affectionate and communicative with you, right? Like that hasn't changed, or has that gotten worse?
It's gotten worse. At the beginning, for the first, 3 or 4 months, he was very expressive. But you could tell that he was uncomfortable doing it at first. And now it's kind of backed off. And maybe it's because I'm the one that's always expressing my care. I'd rather him know exactly what I'm thinking and how I feel. But I'm definitely not getting the same in return.
How long you been dating this guy?
Since September of last year.
Okay.
Is he aware that you're not getting what you want?
Not exactly. I haven't stepped up maybe to communicate that, just in a little bit of fear that he would be in the upper hand. Is that a little bit messed up for me to say? But
no, I'm curious what you mean though.
Okay. When someone likes another person, it seems like you're at a disadvantage in the relationship if you're the person that's
seeking more affection.
Yeah.
Okay,
I totally understand. It makes total sense. You don't want to reveal that you would like more, and it shows that you are really invested, and maybe he's not as invested, and it might shift the power imbalance. I get that.
Sure, that makes sense. Okay. Anything else?
No, I think it's just the struggle of, okay, does he actually care, or where are we at?
Okay, I gotta jump in here, Nick. I know you probably say
No,
I
please.
have dated this guy. I dated this guy for 2 years. I had this relationship, and it was a wonderful relationship. Honestly, like, I don't have anything bad to say about it. So I'm not saying like this relationship is doomed, but oh my God, you have to tell him, because he does not know that you need that. And it's just not his love language. Like, he is not naturally effusive, maybe affectionate. Like, is he affectionate in, like, physically?
Yeah, I would say I have to be the initiator on that for sure.
Okay.
Too.
This is definitely, even if it means shifting the power or whatever, you've been dating him long enough that it's, even if it shifts it, then that's information that you want to know sooner than later.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to, the power thing, I get it, but that's also mostly in your head, right? Like, there's also power to be gained by having the confidence to state your intentions and be steadfast in what you know you want in a relationship, right? Like, there's a difference between like, well, why don't you love me? I'm like, I'll do anything for you. Please don't leave me. Like, I'll die if you do, versus like, hey buddy, like, I want to be in a relationship with someone who can communicate with me, right? Like, I know I gave you two extremes, but like, that's very different, right?
The other thing too is, sorry, Nick, finish your thought. Sorry.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Same with my ex did this similar thing where like he was the one spearheading the relationship. So in that sense, it is a like actions speak louder than words thing. Like, if he's the one that has sort of been like, oh, I want to take the next step, like, you know, all these things that would suggest that he is committed to you and really is a big fan of yours. Yeah. I mean, first of all, that should make you feel safe enough to tell him this. And it, second of all, I think does speak, you know, a lot of guys can just tell you how gorgeous he thinks you are and how much he loves you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that much. I think he's showing it in a way that matters more. But you really, you gotta bring it up.
Also, I feel like there's potentially a few different, this is all not necessarily like, it's not black or white. There's potential a couple different scenarios here. Like, one, you've been dating him certainly long enough to express this to him, but it's still relatively new where you don't have a great foundation. It's not like as if I've been dating this guy for a year and like we've had this, like, you know, you're still getting to know each other. And I'm not trying to freak you out here, but you say like it was pretty great at first and now it's slowly dwindled down. He could just be getting comfortable with who he really is and he still likes you, but he's just not good at showing it. Or it is possible, like, maybe his feelings aren't as strong. Like, the point is, to Charlene's point, like, now you're just guessing. So you're just at the point where you just have to find out and be okay with whatever answer you get, as hard as that might be. Also, like, kind of Charlene's point, it could just not be his love language. I mean, quite honestly, as you talk, and Charlene knows me, like, I can be this way sometimes. And like, it's not that I'm not a shy person, but like, especially when I meet new people, I sometimes get in my head and I forget to be as charming as I can be. And I just don't know why I do it sometimes. And literally sometimes I need friends like Sharleen being like, hey, be human around these people.
We have a lot of talks about this.
and I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right. I should, okay, you're right. And then I am, and it's fine. But like, I don't know why I do it sometimes. I do. And I've always been that way since as long as I can remember. You know, I've met families of girlfriends and I've just decided to be quiet and closed off and very introverted. And she was like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I've done that. Right. And so, yeah, you just need to talk about it, you know, like, and just make sure that you do it in a way that's not threatening, because I've had girlfriends kind of said, what the fuck was that? And my first reaction was to get defensive. You know, just be like, hey, you know, you gotta figure, and that's like Sharleen said, like, it's maybe not his love language. It is still early in this relationship. You guys still have some figuring out to do about one another, but you can't just guess, you know, and you can't make assumptions out of fear that you're going to lose your power or fear that you're going to like lose control of the relationship. That's a slippery slope and a way to get into a potential toxic relationship, or get in a situation where you've been dating a guy for a year and a half and you have really no idea who he is or how he feels because you've made a lot of guesses and you're just afraid to like be vulnerable. Like, that's no way to start a relationship. So
No, that's valid. I'm probably not giving him enough opportunity to express it either, I guess. Then, like, me not asking the question is putting him into a corner, really, too.
Yeah, just ask. I mean, I don't know what Sharleen has to think about how to approach it, but you could just like, hey, can I talk to you about something? Like, I mean, I get it. I do shit like this too, but like, you did this and I was curious. I'm like, I'm only because I'm just curious. I want to make sure I understand you, you know? And if it's something, and then separately, if you're like, worried about like things having changed, just be like, hey, can I ask you a question? Like, you know, I kind of miss you doing stuff like this. And I don't know, I like you and I like hearing that. When it comes to love languages, there's what you need and there's what your partner needs. And often those don't line up. And that doesn't mean you can't be compatible, but like, you have to, like, I don't like gifts, but if I date someone who's like, I don't know, I like gifts, I'd be like, well, I better fucking get you a gift kind of thing, even though like I don't need it and I don't care and it's not the way I like to express it, but that's what they want and it's not about me, right? So you have to be able to like, you both need to be able to like find a common ground there.
Okay, I gotcha.
I relate really hard to this one, just for what it's worth. And it really bugged me, especially after I brought it up. It never really changed. It just was not his personality. But when we got along really well, but then it's a similar thing. When he met my friends or family, he was just very, like, he was sort of like the onus was always on the other person to strike up the conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The comments from my family is like, oh, he must be very shy. Or some people even think that it's him being conceited in a way. And I know that's not his approach. Like, that is not him at all. But
yeah,
I
comes
relate
across
to this.
That way.
I relate to it. I've been this person.
Yeah.
It just, I know sometimes it's a default thing. I will say this, if you handle it in a way that's positive and non-threatening, he will appreciate that you help him with this.
Okay.
If that's what it is, like we're making some assumptions here, but if he is Sharleen's ex and he is like, if he's doing it for reasons like I've done it before, he will appreciate that you help him not be that way and you're not nagging or criticizing him and belittling him for being that way. He will appreciate it. You also might find, as Sharleen mentioned, that like, this is who he is and you're not necessarily okay with that and that's not the type of connection you want, and that's totally fine.
Okay.
And you have the right to leave that situation because, again, like when it's been when it's pointed out that I do that, I don't like that I do that. And when certain people, like when Sharleen does it with me, she does it in a way that's like, okay, you're right, thank you, and then I do better, and I feel better for it, and that makes me feel good about myself, and it makes me feel good that I have friends like that. He might not be interested in changing at all. I don't know. That's for you to like learn about this person, but that's all part of the getting to know you process in a relationship.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
I suspect he does not know this is a problem for you at all.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But this is
it's not like an embarrassing. Like, to be honest, I think most women, at least, and I'm probably men too, but most women that I know anyway, are like, want to feel like what we're giving is being reciprocated. Even if it's, they're showing it in other ways. Like, if he's not saying it to you, then maybe you're just not going to process it the same way. And like, he just needs to be made aware of that. It's his right, honestly, in this relationship.
True. No, I'm not giving him the opportunity, so I need to ask him.
You seem like, when we're talking, you seem like you're thinking a lot about the situation right now, and it seems like it's like it's opened up a can of emotions. I'm curious why. What?
Yeah, you just don't want to hurt someone's feelings either. At the same time, like I don't want to make him upset that he's not providing anything for me.
Yeah, but also like, again, it's a balance. Don't be too hard on yourself. Again, like we all do things that sometimes we don't realize or we can't help. And to Sharleen's point, like she brought it up and he didn't change. Like this is all fine.
He tried, but I ended up marrying a guy who was really effusive.
Yeah. And I just don't think you need to feel a lot of guilt about this, right? Like, you're here, you're talking to a couple of strangers asking for, you give a shit, you care. You don't be so hard on yourself that like no damage has been done. And I wonder if maybe you're feeling a little like guilt because your family's been critical and you feel like if this is like, if he says to you what I'm saying to you, you will almost feel guilty about it, but like, don't, like, it's totally fine. I'm sensing this from you, but like, I don't think you need to feel that bad. And like, my life's fine. Right. And like, we all just get in ruts. Like sometimes we're just not our best selves and we don't know why we do things, but he also has a responsibility to do it too. Like, just because like say like a friend like Sharleen points it out to me, it doesn't like I don't know. And sometimes I need to do a better job on my own, doing that. And
you nailed it. Yeah, you nailed it. How I'm feeling about it.
So
100%. It's a lot easier to talk to someone that doesn't know me or the relationship at all because they don't have any biases behind it.
But and not to confuse you though, but oftentimes I've been in relationships and I've been, family's been like, I don't get this person, and I want to defend that person, and my family's right. So like, there's a balance there. But the important thing is you just need to figure it out what that is, right? I don't think your family is trying to be critical or mean to him. When people don't understand each other, they make a lot of assumptions. And so you're making assumptions. Just try not to make assumptions and figure out whether he's your guy or not. And, there's no damage has been done. Don't feel too bad.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I thank you for calling. This is a great question, and I wish you the best. But we, if you want to give us an update, we'd love to hear.
Okay, for sure. Thank you.
Good luck.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that was a totally real, great call. I mean, it was funny how you and I related on different spectrums or different sides. Yeah, I could tell she was getting really emotional about it. And,
but she also had, and what I loved about her is that she could readily admit that she has not given him the chance to prove her wrong or to change her mind about it. Like she really took responsibility in that. She seems very reasonable.
Yeah. And it's like, it's 50-50 how it plays out.
Yeah. Especially since it didn't really sound like she'd ever given like hints that like her family felt a certain way or her friends felt a certain way. Like it kind of depends how much she's been planting the seed up to this point.
Yeah.
My ex wasn't, so he spoke a little Mandarin because he had lived in China. He was British, and he was not able to tell me I was beautiful unless he said it in Mandarin. Like he could not just say, "You look so beautiful." That level.
Okay. That's
like he really struggled. He always felt like it was cheesy. But I think part of it was a cultural difference. Like it was very British to be like, oh, that's so American and like overt.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's well, the fact that you say he was British reminds me of Malcolm Gladwell's latest book. And the whole premise is this is around how we interact with people just has way more to do with like our assumptions about who we are. And there's cultural differences, there are age differences. There's so many like things that we just don't understand other people, even if we're in relationships with them, especially if like, we're not willing to ask those questions because we're afraid to like lose our power.
Yeah. Or if it doesn't even occur. Well, I feel like it doesn't even occur to a lot of people to ask those questions. Like they would feel more comfortable with their assumptions. There's
such a fine line between, like when she said, well, I don't want to like lose my power, like huge difference between saying what you want and what you expect in a relationship versus I love you so much. Just please tell me you love me. You know, like there's such a huge difference there.
Yeah.
And
she doesn't seem like the type that could possibly say it the latter way anyway.
No, but that's why
you never know, though. You never know how people are in relationships.
You never know. Well, Sharleen, I really appreciate you coming on. This is I knew it would be as great as it was, and
it was fun.
It's Sharleen and I always have conversations like this in person, and our brains often work the same way. It's how we became friends so fast, by how we kind of perceive situations, and it's been a lot of fun to connect with you. So thank you for coming on. And as always, people, thank you for listening. We appreciate you calling in. Don't forget to check us out tonight and tomorrow for a recap of Listen to Your Heart. And also on Wednesday, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for listening.